Hello, thank you for watching episode 2 of Kitchen 701. I'm so excited you're here and I'm excited to be doing this. It's been a dream of mine for a while. So the first episode I promised an introduction so you know a little bit more about me in case you don't know. So I grew up in central Minnesota on a hobby farm, and I was super lucky, or we were super lucky, to basically live within probably 100 miles of literally all of our relatives, for the exception of a couple. And so that was pretty cool growing up, and I think now I'm even more thankful of that just because I live far away from my family. But both of my parents came from farm families, and so from that we were instilled upon us the values of growing your own food and having local food and kind of knowing where your food comes from. And so that was really important to us. And as I got older, my parents got even healthier and really instilled those values of, growing your own food, having organic food, organic produce, and buying locally, supporting local businesses, supporting local farmers and stuff. So flash forward to 5 years ago, I moved to Mandan, North Dakota, which is right next door to Bismarck, for those of you who don't know. And really then is when it became super important for me to live a healthier lifestyle. It was really important to have organic foods in the house and grow a big garden so that it was, right outside my front door, my back door, I should say, where my fresh produce was, to be able to incorporate that into our meals. So I knew where my meals came from, and it was really fun. It is really fun to be able to grow your own garden and prepare your own food, which I love. And we're a big deer hunting family, so that's really important to me, not only because of the fun tradition of it, but also because we then see where our food comes from, and we're involved in the process of making our food from beginning to end, which I think is super important, to just know where your food comes from and know that you're having good quality food for your family, because I think this helps me be healthier, it helps our family be healthy, so we can live long, healthy, happy lives. And so that's kind of one of the big pieces of Kitchen 701, is just to talk about some things that I do that promote some wellness for our family, for Adeline and Britton and I. So it's definitely not the perfect way, it's not the only way, but I hope maybe you get some helpful tips and tricks from what I do. If you don't believe in what I believe in, that's fine. You do you, I'll do me. But hopefully you'll be over here watching me and see what I do. Okay, so now you know a little bit more about me, about where Kitchen 701 came from. Let's get into what we're gonna make today. I'm making panzanella. As my husband called it last night, Tasmania. No, it is not Tasmania, it is panzanella. Basically, a fancy way of saying we're gonna combine a bunch of bread with a bunch of vegetables in a yummy combo. I'm gonna be adding a couple surprises along the way, because usually this is an appetizer. I'm gonna make it so that it's a dinner. A good French baguette. You need some fresh vegetables from the garden. Some zucchini and squash is what I've got cooking here. I've got these big bad boys fresh from the garden. Usually we want tomatoes fresh from the garden. Mine aren't ready yet, so I bought some tomatoes fresh from the vine. We've got an onion, and I'll be adding sausage and cheese. For the oil, we're gonna be making a sauce with some olive oil, some apple cider vinegar, and some salt and pepper, and some balsamic glaze. Okay, so something that I did last night, just to kind of save some time on making dinner today, is I cut up my baguette into about 1-inch chunks, and then I put them on a sheet pan or a cookie pan, and I put them into the oven at 275 for 15 minutes after I drizzled some olive oil on it. So this is already done. They're already chunked up nice, which is super nice. Saves me some time. I also did the same thing with the sausage that I put in. This is our homemade sausage, so super special to me. I forget, is this country style or Polish?
Country style.
Country style, okay. So I'm gonna be cutting this up eventually too, but I put this in the oven at 400 degrees for about 40 minutes as well, with a little bit of water in the bottom of the pan. So that's done too. Okay, So now I need to start cutting up my vegetables. Here's my knife. So for this, again, you're just gonna do the same thing that we did for the bread. We're gonna do just 1-inch chunks. Try to make them pretty symmetrical. So we'll just do that. Okay, we got the squash. Now we're gonna cut up the onion. Now there's a couple different ways that you could do the onion. You could just make some thin slices, or you could do chunks. I'm gonna do chunks, so we'll run through that. And then on to the tomatoes. Now, depending on how much you like tomatoes, you don't have to do too many of them if you don't want to. But same idea, just kind of chunk them up. It can be a real rough chop, nothing too fancy here. Save all the juice because that helps just get the sauce incorporated. So try to keep a lot of that tomato juice inside the tomato before it makes it into the bowl. I'm just gonna do 2 tomatoes worth. I'm not gonna make this too tomatoey of a dish. I'll probably be the one eating most of the tomatoes. I've got my oven preheating while I'm doing this. It just beeped at 400 degrees. We've got that preheated. I'll tell you more about that later. Okay, we are done with this step of the process. Okay, so now I've got my huge bowl of my squash, my onions, and my tomatoes and zucchini. So now it's time to move on to the next step here. So I'm gonna get rid of this cutting board. We don't need that anymore. And then, some may argue with me and say that since I'm roasting these vegetables, it's not really a panzanella. I don't care. It's panzanella to me. So, put this whole bowl mixture out on a cookie sheet. Spread it around so that you don't just have all of one kind of the vegetable in one spot. Just kind of get it all spread out. It's going to be a pretty full cookie sheet. And then you're just going to make sure you load up on olive oil generously across the whole tray. Okay, we've got that. All right, so now let's follow me to the oven. Check it out. Put that into the oven for about 20 minutes. Now, while the veggies are roasting in the oven, we're gonna take this sausage and we're gonna cut this up as well. Again, you know, in 1-inch chunks or so. Okay, so all of this can just go in the bowl for now. This is my special sausage from my family. I love it. We usually get all of the hunters together on Thanksgiving weekend and make a bunch of sausage from all the venison, and we combine pork with it. It's a really fun tradition, and we're kind of at the phase now where some of the older members of the family are trying to pass down what they know to some of us younger ones, so it's super fun. So we've got our sausage ready to go for when we want it. Next, while we've got some time, we're gonna make the sauce that we're gonna use to incorporate all of this together. So in a jar, we're gonna put, wow, this is really slow moving. We're gonna put about 1/4 cup of olive oil in a jar. Okay, so we'll get that in there. And then we'll put a little bit of apple cider vinegar with it, just to kind of give it a little bit of tang. Some pepper. My pepper is almost out. A generous amount of pepper just because we didn't season those vegetables yet. So I'm probably just gonna run this pepper mill dry. Yes, it is out. Some salt. We got pink Himalayan salt. Again, a pretty decent amount because we didn't salt and pepper those veggies. Then a little bit of cayenne just to give it a nice little kick. And that little amount that we did, you probably won't even taste the spice. It just kind of elevates the flavor. Shake it up, get that all incorporated together. And then this will be ready to mix when we mix all of the stuff back together when the veggies are done cooking. So look at that, looks good already. One step I forgot is we're gonna use some fresh basil at the end. So I took some basil from my garden and we're going to just take the leaves off here. And we're going to do a chiffonade with them, which makes them easy to cut up. It sounds a lot more complicated than what it really is. So just get the leaves off here, forget all of the stuff that's floured. So, a chiffonade. We're gonna kind of stack all these leaves up. We'll do about half actually. And we're gonna roll them together so we get them rolled up tight like this. And then we're just gonna take our knife and just cut thin little strips. Okay, so we did that for one stack of them, and we'll just repeat that process. Okay, we're all set. We'll set this aside. This smells so good. It'll make a nice little addition for our panzanella. Okay, so for the last 5 minutes of these vegetables roasting, you can see it's super hot. I'm going to put the sausage right on the tray so that it warms up and gets nice and hot with the rest of the veggies. Okay, so here we go. We've got this beautiful tray full of awesome veggies that you can see are just steaming and going crazy. So now we're just gonna get them in this bowl. Okay. Now remember, this is a panzanella, so we still need to add the bread. So I've got that bread that I cubed up. That goes literally right in. Get your big mixing spoon ready, because then we're gonna pour this sauce in here. You might need to give it a good shake. I see mine separated a little bit from the salt and pepper I put in, so feel free to give it a little toss. Get all that sauce in there. A little trick you could do too, you could put some liquid aminos. I love this stuff instead of soy sauce. It's a good healthy alternative to soy sauce. Put some of that in there and just mix it all up. Get it somewhat mixed together here. Good thing I have this heavy duty spoon because this is a ton of food. Okay, got it somewhat mixed. Now the best part, the cheese. So this is my little added spark to this dish. I wanted the little mozzarella balls, which I couldn't find, but that's okay. These are just basically little cheese curds. that we're gonna toss in here, oops, as well. Get that all mixed in here. That'll add a yummy little touch to this dish. Does it make it a little more unhealthy? Maybe, but adds a good fat to the dish that it probably needs. So, all right, get that all mixed in. Smells delicious, looks yummy. That bread, it was left overnight in that container after I baked it last night. You would never know. It's not like it's hard or crispy. It's gonna all go together so well. And then we'll just top it off with that basil that I cut up. And then if you're into balsamic glaze, you could add that. I'm not gonna add it to the whole dish because I've got a husband that isn't a big fan of balsamic glaze. Over there if you're listening. But basically I just took my balsamic vinegar that I knew was getting kind of, old and should be used up. I just reduced it, added a little bit of honey in a pan with the balsamic vinegar, reduced it so it's about half of what it started with, and it's this really luscious glaze that you could put over. Again, I'm not gonna put it over the whole thing. I'm gonna put it over mine when I dish up my meal. So let me just kind of show you. Look at that, looks delicious. Let's see, there's a big chunk of cheese in there. Yummy, I am ready to dig in. Thanks for watching.